You know, every day in the UK, I have the same routine. I get up and I walk through the middle of town to go get a coffee from Costa Coffee. It's my favourite time of the day. It's just me and my thoughts and listening to my favourite music. And today I chucked on Eagle Rock, and it actually had me smiling. I was listening to it and picturing a rock and Optus Stadium after a good, meaningful surprise Eagles win, and it actually started to get me excited again for football. It's been a very bleak couple of months as an Eagles fans. And for a moment there, I started to get excited again. And then I sat down to do this Western Derby preview, and all of that went away. So, Western Derby 59 this weekend. For the record, I will be streaming on the True Footy live stream, and I'm hoping to do that with Druzy. I say hoping to loosely. We're hoping to make that work, where we stream together. But for now, we're going to talk about the game that was. I've also done a preview with Druzy on the True Footy YouTube channel if anyone's interested, but this will be the West Coast focused one. So, feeling negative about this particular derby, and that's probably a good sign. I do find that, personally anyway, this is meaningless, but I find that when I get my hopes up for games, they get crushed, and when I go into games with no expectation, expecting them to go badly, that's generally where they surprise me. So I'm cautiously optimistic that this will be a better game than I'm anticipating. I also find with Fremantle, they have generally not done so well with the tag of being heavy favourites in a derby. Whenever they're expected to belt us, we either make it close or, of course, last time we actually got the win somehow. So I'm kind of hoping that is a recipe for a non-belting, but we'll see how we're going. In this game, we got TB and Jake Waterman hitting 150 and 100 games respectively, so that's nice. They've been both champions of this team this season in particular. So a lot's happened since the last time we played Fremantle. I think when we smashed them in round 7 or whatever it was, we were at the time the number 2 contested ball side of the competition and looked like we had completely, regenerated a game style. And things have fallen away badly since. And Fremantle, on the other hand, have done the polar opposite thing and become one of the better teams of the competition. Absolutely has to be said. So if you look at the last 5, they've had wins over the Demons most recently. They beat Richmond. They beat the Swans away. They beat the Gold Coast Suns in Perth with one loss to Hawthorn down in Tassie. But over the stretch, I think, what are they, top 4 at the moment? And I'd say rightfully probably in that mix of teams that could go all the way this year, at least go deep into September. We'll see. By contrast, West Coast last 5 in particular. What is it? One of our last 12, I think we've won. But in particular, some really bad losses. The St Kilda game was terrible. The Lions game was an honourable loss. The Demons loss was not great. The Hawthorn one was horrendous. And the Bombers one was decent by comparison. So let's talk about last time we met. We came out of the blocks and blew Fremantle apart. I think we kicked the first 7, which is hilarious. And I think at 3/4 time we were leading 93-29. And that just seems like such a distant memory at the moment. Yo won the medal with 26 disposals, 6 clearances. Harley Reid had arguably the best game of his career so far. I mean, there's been a few that are probably around the same level, but he had 3 goals, 19 disposals, 7 clearances, and was impacting both in the midfield at stoppages and also as an aerial threat up forward, which was unreal. And Jake Waterman also kicked 5 goals, and that was where we really started to stand up and take notice of Waterman, because I think he kicked 6 the week before against Richmond. In this game, we won the inside 50 count by 8, 48-40. We still lost the clearances, and we are coming up against the number 1 clearance side in the competition this week. So that is going to be a huge challenge for us, and I think we can, try and level them out. I think that's the way we're going to try and at least get close to Fremantle in this game, is trying to level them out at the contest. I don't mean battering them physically, although, that would probably help. But I mean, just not getting horrendously dominated in that stat will be the first ingredient for this game going better than we potentially expect. Looking at what Fremantle do well, or the individuals, that midfield mix at the moment, they've really added a new dimension to that team with Hayden Young going in, adds something that Sarong and Brayshaw don't do, and they're also great midfielders. They've got Sean Darcy, who is a very physically imposing ruckman as well, with Jackson supporting him. I hate to say it, but they're a much more well-rounded team than they've ever been. And there's not too many list gaps. Down back, okay, so Alex Pearce is going to be missing from this game, which is timely for us. I mean, we can use all the help we can get. But they've still got, Brendan Cox. They've still got Luke Ryan. Josh Draper looks like a likely type. Up forward, Josh Tracy and Jai Amos over the last couple of years, in particular this year for Tracy. For Amos, it's probably been 2 years now. They've become a genuine aerial threat, and that's probably something Fremantle lacked, in that post-Pavlich era. I don't think that's a huge problem for them anymore. And Jackson as well can bob up for a goal a game. And Switkowski at ground level is also a great pressure forward. Walters kicked 4 last week. So I'm kind of sick of talking about all of that. But it's important to illustrate the backdrop of this game. We're coming up against a pretty damn good Fremantle side, as much as I hate it. So we'll go through the stats. They're number 5 in contested ball. We're 17th. They're top 4 for uncontested ball. Always look at that, how much can they control the possession on the outside? That's usually one way that teams tear us apart. They're top 8 in inside 50s. We're 16th. That's arguably one of our best stats, except for ground balls. Actually, they're top 3, but we're number 10. Not ranking too badly in ground balls. Like I said, they're number 1 in clearances, but not only that, they're triple the second best team for clearance differential over the course of the season. We're number 18. They're top 4 for both scores from stoppage and turnover. They're number 3 for scores from the back half, and this is also another area where we get regularly decimated. If there's one weakness for them, I did say Switkowski is a good pressure forward, and he is, but they're ranked 15th, so bottom for tackles inside 50. I didn't look what we are, but my God, obviously much has been said about our performance last week and 0 tackles inside 50. So that's a good statistical backdrop of this game, and how helpful is it? Well, we get a good picture of the fact that Fremantle is actually a very, very good team, and this will be an enormous challenge for us. That being said, our chances of winning this game will not be us replicating anything we've done in the last 8 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever it's been. It's going to require us to find a level that we haven't found since the Melbourne game, and prior to that, the Western Derby as well. So let's talk about some team changes. These have now come out. I'm obviously doing this preview a little bit later in the week so that I can actually discuss the changes which came out this morning UK time. So we have 4 changes. Obviously, this is the final team because it's a Saturday night game. Sunday games, obviously, you get the extended bench. We do not have to worry about that this week or next week or maybe even the week after that, which I'm thrilled about. I hate Sunday games. So team changes. We've got Witherden out for Jeremy McGovern. McGovern's back. There was a little bit of doubt as to whether he would come back. Witherden out makes sense. You guys, if you've been watching the channel lately, have probably heard my frustrations on Witherden, but I think it makes sense. I don't think he's likely to get a contract next year, so that is a very passable change from mine. Yo comes in for Chesser. Fine with that also. It's not quite like for like. Chesser's a little bit more outside and certainly has been playing that way at AFL level, and Yo was always going to come back if fit. Jake Waterman comes back, which is a big relief as well. Adds us another, avenue of kicking goals, which we desperately need, and he's been our number 1 avenue to kick goals this year. Jack Petruccelli gets dropped, which kind of is not a big surprise. I don't think he was particularly impactful last week, and he'll probably get a run in the waffle, or he'll be playing as the non-playing emergency. So the 4th change is the most curious one. Jermaine Jones being dropped, we probably all could have seen coming, but Jack Darling back to the side is interesting. And the only logic for it is that we're trying to stretch them for height, but it does return us to this land of the Giants forward line, and it's also, elephant in the room, bringing back a guy who's a veteran and, not really doing a lot to earn his spot on the side. So this is the one I'd question and say, could Tyrell Dewar have been a better selection here? Which one is going to be better for us winning the game? It might be Jack Darling, maybe, but that relies on us, being able to deliver the ball inside 50 properly. And I'm skeptical about that, and I'm sure there are people out there who are also against this selection. I don't love it because you also consider we now have 4 tall forwards. So a little bit of context to that. Their backline, without Alex Pearce, they have one true established key defender in Brennan Cox. I don't consider Luke Ryan a true key defender. He's a very good aerial marking, intercept, medium defender. I think he's only about 6 foot or maybe 6'1" at a push. Nonetheless, still a very good player and going to be a big impact, but probably not the best matchup one-on-one with, a genuine power forward like someone like a Darling. So Cox, Draper and Ryan is a relatively small backline. So the logic here is clearly to try and stretch them. We've named all of Oscar Allen, Jake Waterman, Jack Darling as the 3, and Jack Williams is still in that forward line as the second ruck. So the other player that we did not bring in was Matthew Flynn. I did think there was a possibility for that on the basis that Sean Darcy's a big hulking ruckman, and my faith in Bailey Williams right now to be able to compete with him is fairly limited. So it's going to be the Williams boys against probably the best 1-2 ruck punch in the league in Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson. Now, we can't really control that if Flynn wasn't quite fit. I get that, but I was kind of half expecting him to be, sort of rush back into this game. Nonetheless, that's the way we're going, and we're going tall, and we're going to try and play to our strengths, and that's to try and stretch their backline for heights. So I guess I get the logic of it, even if I would have rather have seen a younger player like a Tyrell Dewar come in and play as a medium forward. The other issue I have maybe, or concern I suppose, looking at this best 22, is just the speed of their outside mids. So you look at the 2 named wings, you got Marek and you got Edwards. Marek has a little bit of pace. Edwards does not. And Ruben Ginbey on the bench presumably will play halfback wing, in my opinion. And he's got speed, but overall, dropping a Chesser and Jermaine Jones and Petruccelli actually does rob us of some speed. So we've gone taller and we're looking a little bit slower. Again, this is not a massive concern if we're able to control possession, but we probably won't. Who else? Looking at the named teams, we've probably got a couple of players that I think are playing for their contract spots next year on the list, their spot on the list. We probably had 4 last week with Witherden and Jones. That has now become 2, and I would say those 2 players are Jai Cully and Luke Edwards. Both probably need to perform to earn another spot on the list for next season, in my personal opinion. Again, the way we use Cully in this game will be interesting. I want to see him spend more time, or at least a little bit of time, at the centre bounce, playing him as a tall. I mean, essentially, given his attributes, he's 6'4" and not particularly quick. He's essentially another third tall forward that we're putting into this team, in addition to the land of the Giants that we've got. So I'm a little bit concerned about our forward line pace, coming off a week where we didn't lay a tackle inside 50 last week. So that'll be interesting, but I'd like to see him play forward and mid rather than just forward. And Zane True retains his spot. I'd imagine, we're looking at this Fremantle midfield, clearance dominant, pretty good contested ball side. I think they're ranked 5th actually in the competition, as I said. So we're going to try and level them out, so to speak, or level out their advantage at stoppages. And I get the logic of that. Whether I'm optimistic that it's going to work is another thing, but hey, we can only hope for so much given where we're at as a football team right now. So, prediction, I think I predicted 75 points to Fremantle on just the tips, and then I predicted 44 points with my preview with Druzy. I just hope, hopefully we pull out a performance similar to the Brisbane Lions performance. I think Brisbane are probably slightly better than Fremantle, but Fremantle's current form is very, very strong. They are a good team, as much as I hate to say it, and an honourable loss here will still be a big step in the right direction for where we're at. Obviously, I'm hoping for a win, hoping for the best. But yeah, my optimism is fairly low at the moment. We haven't really had much to get excited about for the last couple of months. So let me know in the comments what you think, guys. What are your tips and predictions? I'd ask you for your Glendinning medal predictions, but it's probably going to be a Fremantle player, so who cares? I'm just kidding. Let me know your predictions for this game. I'm going to do an Eagles trade targets video that should be up Friday morning Perth time, ideally. But for now, I'll thank you for watching. Thanks for being subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one. Go Eagles.